Hello and welcome back. This is Lab 2, installing and configuring an ESXi host. This is the second part of task 1. So this is part B, where we're completing the installation of the ESXi. So let's take a look at the desktop here. We can see we've logged on to the SA student, and what we want to do is open up the Firefox web browser so we can access the vSphere client. So I'll go ahead and click on this here and get it to launch. And you'll see when I launch this that the home page is automatically configured to load the URL address of the VMware vCenter Server appliance. This is not the vSphere client, so what I need to do is click on this, and this will get me to the vSphere client that's hosted on that appliance. Now, once I click on that, I want to use the username and password that you can see here. Now, the username is sysadmin@vclass.local. Take note, that's a bit different than what we used when we first logged into the desktop, the SA student desktop, but it is the same password. So the account is similar, but it's not identical. This is an account that actually resides on the VCSA or in the vSphere environment. So let me go ahead and type that in. And the same password. And I'll go ahead and log in. And you may have noticed in yellow there was some kind of browser OS combination. We can't do any updates. Everything's in essence sandboxed, so we can't access the internet from within these NetLab pods. So therefore, you'll sometimes see a little conflict messages about that can't be corrected, so you can just ignore it. On screen here, we can see that we've landed on the hosts and clusters node, and the instructions are going to indicate that we should go to the VMs and templates. I do want to point out that that virtual machine we're going to be accessing is hosted on ESXi 2. It's a nested virtual machine. There it is. But I'll go ahead and go follow the directions and head on over to VMs and templates and expand that node. And I'm going to select this virtual machine and point out that it is powered off currently. There's no operating system installed, no VMware tools installed on there. What we can see, there's some configuration, and we're going to be making some changes to this. One of which is to actually connect the CD/DVD drive and load the ISO to that, or connect that to that. Following the instructions, I can right-click on here and find the Edit Settings button right here. I do want to point out that there's more than one way to get there. So with this virtual machine selected or highlighted under Actions, since this is contextual, we will get actions that are relevant to this virtual machine. And there's the Edit Settings button again. And then if we look at the VM hardware, which is what we're editing, we can hit the Edit button here. So any one of those ways will do that. I'll go ahead and follow the path that is laid out for us over here. So I'll go ahead and right-click on this here and hit the Edit Settings. And you'll see the Edit Settings window pop open. From here, what I want to do is find the CD/DVD drive, and I'll hit the drop-down arrow next to the CD/DVD drive and change from client device to data store ISO, because what I'll do is I'll attach or load the hypervisor installer onto that CD/DVD. And so there is an iSCSI LUN 0 data store that has been pre-configured for us as part of the lab. So that's a data store. And within that data store, you will find some directories, and one of those is the class files directory. That's the one I need for this. And then if you take a look here, you'll notice that with all these files available, we should find the VMvisor installer 7.00. Now, the hypervisor VMware, this is interesting, they give this away. And so you can actually get a full version of this hypervisor for free. You cannot get the vSphere environment for free. That is a paid resource, but we also make that available to you if you wanted to download those files and those ISOs through the web store. You can ask me about that at another time. I've selected this here. You can see it's only a 350 megabyte file, but I've attached that to the ISO. And then the next step here is to connect this or enable the connected power on. When I do this, this allows the virtual machine to connect to the CD/DVD drive after it powers up or during the power on process. So then the file is available for installation. And I'll press the OK button here. Okay, so now that's configured. You can see I've reconfigured my virtual machine. It shows under my recent tasks right here. The next step is to power on the virtual machine, and I can do that in a number of ways. There is, again, by right-clicking on the virtual machine, there is a power on at the top. You can also, with the virtual machine selected, you can also use the power on button here. So I'll go ahead this time and use the power on button right here. It'll give me the same effect. Give it a moment. You'll notice periodically that this window will refresh, and you can see that when this little arrow will flash periodically. That refresh updates the screen to show you that it's powered on. If you do something and you don't see it displayed, you may enable something, change something, and you don't see it displayed, you can hit the refresh button, and this just gets the page to update. And there you can see I just updated, and this is what this looks like now. This is that DCUI, Direct Console User Interface. Now, what I'll want to do at this point is open the remote console so I can work with that. And again, with the virtual machine highlighted, I can right-click and select Open Remote Console. I can use the Open Remote Console or Launch Console from here, or I can hit the Launch Remote Console here. I prefer to use this button here. Now what you will see is that a new tab opens up, and then eventually the console will pop up on top. I do want you to note that the bottom of my console currently is hidden, but I can see that the hypervisor is still powering on, or I should say the virtual machine is still powering up. And at this point, I should see the installer, or the welcome message. So once the ESXi installer initializes fully, I get this welcome to VMware ESXi 7.00 installation message. And to proceed with the installation, I will need to press my enter key. At this point forward, what's going to be happening is I'm going to be using my keyboard to perform or to enter information. So I will not be using my mouse. But one thing I do notice is that the bottom of this console is being chopped off. So I'm going to fix that now. So that's a function of my SA Student desktop screen resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this little window icon over in the corner. And then I'll come over here to the settings button, go to my display button, and I'm going to change this from 1280 by 768 to 1280 by 960. I found should get you everything that you need to see. So select that, hit the apply. Notice that the whole console now shows, and then hit keep this configuration, and then I can close the window. Now my console is not cut off. It shows completely on the desktop. All right. So with this being taken care of, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and we're going to pick up from this point on in the next video. I'll see you then.